Welcome. In this video, we will discuss about the over-regulation impeding access to safe abortion. Now, this could be considered as the classic example how the law which was previously envisioned to empower women and put a stop to female feticide has came to a wrong conclusion, and because of it there has been an other demon which has blown its head. So these are few things which we will discuss, that even though with the right intention there are certain side effects which even the policymaker could not envision at the time they are framing the policy. So this is in fact one of the side effect of how the stopping the availability of abortion pill in a kind of understanding that it could lead to sex selective abortion. Because of it there has been an over regulation on the abortion pills. So in this video we will try to discuss what the survey specifically highlights, what is being happening in terms of the MA drugs, which is basically your abortion pills. Let's find some details. So the first thing that we have to know is that there has been an overwhelming shortage of abortion pill or medical abortion drugs. As mentioned earlier, they are also known as MA drug, medical abortion drugs. So there has been an overwhelming shortage. Now why there has been an overwhelming shortage? It's because the chemists are not very comfortable keeping them because of the regulatory framework which is around them. So it's the finding has shown that state-wise regulatory and legal barriers are the key reason why almost 80% of the chemists surveyed refrained from stocking these drugs. So there has been, so they went ahead and surveyed the chemist over there and then asked why particularly you're not keeping the MA drugs. So the reason which they have come across, which has been found out by the survey, is that there has been over regulation. The state-wise regulatory and legal barrier are huge, and because of which chemists are hesitant to keep those drugs with themselves. So that is one of the key findings of the survey. What regulatory hurdles are actually due to misunderstanding that easy availability of medical abortion drugs will be misused for sex selection. So as mentioned earlier, India was facing, in fact in today also there has been cases of female infanticide, and it was a huge problem. Because of it the regulation on the the abortion based on sex selection, the sonography and ultrasound, all these things were barred by the authorities so that the sex selective abortion could not happen. But now if you have to understand what is happening because of the lack of understanding or precisely misunderstanding that even the abortion pill could lead to sex selection. But what is medically being proven is that these drugs are approved for use only up to 9 weeks. So from the time of conceivement to the 9 weeks, only till that time these drugs are effective or has been approved by the authorities to be used. While the sonography or the ultrasound can detect the fetus only at around 13 to 14 weeks. So these particular drugs could not lead to sex selection because of the general difference in time itself. Like till 9 weeks only these drugs could be effective and are approved, while the fetus, like the ultrasound would be able to detect any kind of sex determination is only in 13 to 14 weeks, which means there is a good 4-week gap, which is before that there is no way they could figure out, and it could lead to sex selection kind of abortion. So these are the major finding, and which get back us to the topic that raising awareness, providing the right information to the chemist and to the people who are going to achieve this would be one of the major way by which we would be able to negate this whole problem of the women not getting the access to the right kind of medication. So that is one thing that is important, which has been highlighted by this particular survey. Now let's move forward and see what exactly does it mean. So for women specifically who want to go for abortion, now because there is inavailability of MA drug, the only procedure left for them is surgical. So basically they have to go for surgical abortion even though they could have just gone for the pill and could have gone the easy route. So it kind of hamper the choices available to the women through which they could decide about the unwanted pregnancy. So this is again one of the reason because of which we are like pushing women and constraining their choices of how they want to abort their unwanted pregnancy. So that is one thing. Another thing is that it will also reduce the access to safe abortion. Now think about it. For any unwanted pregnancy or for any other reason also, if you want to go for abortion and there is non-availability of MA drugs, which is your abortion pills, so the only option you would remain with is your surgical procedure. Like with the surgery, you will be getting the abortion, but the surgical clinics which are available in India are limited. So this is limited. So what will you do? At the end of the day, you would have to go into the unsupervised or not licensed clinic in which there are huge chances of unsafe procedure. So this whole thing actually put a kind of stop on even the maternal mortality rate, which is one of the target under the sustainable development goal, and unsafe abortion could be one of the major reason which when that could happen. So all these things combined together means that there is a need that the policy or the awareness should be reached to the people so that the abortion pill could be provided at the chemist. Now what another thing that you have to remember is that cost also become an important factor. Going for any kind of surgical operation will require a lot of money. In fact, even in tier 2 and tier 3 towns with even smaller clinic, it is around 2000 to 5000 rupees, which is a huge amount for the women who might not have the stable income sources. So again, this put kind of a burden on the women to carry out the act and provide with them the costlier alternative as compared to the easier and the cheaper one. So these are the few things one have to remember, like the policy maker has to figure out how we can made a policy by which we can provide more choices to the women to go for abortion. So these are few things that you have to remember and what kind of impact it has on women and why it is bad. So this is something that you need to know from your UPSC point of view as well. Now let's also try to see about the medical termination of pregnancy amendment bill 2020. So this particular medical termination of pregnancy bill has been floored on the put on the floor of the house and is under discussion. Now, some of the proposal which is made by this amendment include that it will require opinion of one registered medical practitioner. Like the before this amendment, there was 1971 Act which made it like kind of mandatory that it has to be two or more medical practitioner who has to give their legal like the medical opinion for termination of pregnancy up to 20 weeks of gestation, which means from the time of conceiving till 20 week. If you want to go ahead and have abortion, you need to get the medical opinion or kind of approval from two medical practitioner. Now this bill try to decrease that number to one. Why? Because at the end of the day, it is very important that we empower women to make choices, and this will actually kind of the you can say the legal hurdle or the bureaucratic hurdle which women has to face while going through the tough pregnancy, it would be lowered by this proposal. Next proposal, which is in fact the very important point which has been raised, and if you have been following news from years, you would know that many cases in Supreme Court has gone ahead and where there has been anomaly in terms of the fetal development or there are some other problem because of which the women has pleaded for abortion even after the the gestation period of 20 weeks, and the court at times have gone against it and the woman has to feel the burn of losing the child just after giving birth. So these kind of things are very important. We have to understand that it is also emotionally and physically taxing on the health of the women also. So what this particular 2020 bill proposes is to have the termination of pregnancy from 20 to 24 weeks. So it raised the earlier set limit of 20 weeks and it is getting it up to 24 weeks. The only thing is it has to be by two medical practitioners. So till 20 week it could be like one medical practitioner. From 20 to 24 week you would need the medical opinion of two medical practitioners. This is to make sure that the life of the fetus is not jeoparded, or the people are not making rash decision but an informed one and more humane one. So that is another proposal which has been decided on the bill of 2020. Next is also provide something called as spatial categories of women. Why? Because at times even the gestation period of 24 week could be ignored, and the spatial categories women could be given the chance to go for abortion. They are the women which are being defined into spatial categories are the survivor of rape, victims of incest, and other vulnerable women like differently abled and minors. So for minors, rape survivors, as well as the victims of incest and disabled women, the women who are particularly vulnerable, for them the gestation period could be increased from 24 weeks. So that is again a very progressive step to provide the protection to the women. And then finally it also talk about what is called as the confidentiality. So the name and the other particular of the women whose pregnancy has been terminated shall not be revealed. So it makes sure that the confidentiality of the women is maintained in the entire process, unless there is an authorized authority which is asking for the information. So these are the few major amendment which has been suggested by the 2020 bill. They are quite progressive in nature, and once implemented, it will bring a lot of relief for the women who are suffering from unwanted pregnancy, or because of the anomaly in the fetal development, or the cases where it poses risk to the health of the women itself. So these things are something which you have to remember from your UPSC point of view as well. Now let's also try to see how the abortion is treated globally, like what kind of regulation has been provided in other countries. So if you see the dark red, so these African countries, these are the one where the abortion is prohibited altogether. Like under any circumstances, there is no way these countries would go for abortion. So this is one category. It is like dark red. If you see, this is African country, and if you see over here, these are your Middle East countries. Some of the places, like it's very few, like it's only 5% of the country, but 26 countries are the one which are included into it. Now this is first category. Category 2 is like the light red. You see these Panama countries or Brazil or these other African countries and Middle East countries. Sorry. Here, the abortion is only when it is to save the women's life. Under other circumstances, it is not allowed. It is only allowed when the fetus poses a threat to the life of the woman herself. So this is followed in 39 countries, and then you see the yellow one. So these South American countries, and then these African countries, along with this Middle East country. Here, in fact, the Afghanistan, and even here in some of the countries of East Asia, we can see that here the main purpose because of which abortion is allowed is to preserve the health. So if there is a chances of that it is posing health risk, then it could be allowed. Now finally we see the blue color one. The blue color links are the one which light blue, India, and you see few African countries. These are the one where the abortion is based on the socio or economic ground. So it's not just because on the basis of health, but it is also on the basis of your social economic background. And finally, if you see, the developed nation of the world has actually allowed for abortion. They are like one request, gestation limit may vary, but they allowed the abortion on the request of the women. So if you see, like we have to get into that zone where the women has the right over to decide whether she want to go for abortion or not, obviously with some kind of framework. So these are the things, or these are the regulatory framework how the words behave. India comes under the category where the abortion is allowed, but that is mostly based on your socio-economic condition. So I hope you have understood this video. From your UPSC point of view, you have to understand about the medical termination of pregnancy, 1971 Act and the latest amendment. Also, for your writing essay question or social question, you could use the findings of survey. So the findings of survey could be used in your answer related to your survey or women empowerment or society, where you can find that how one act which was supposed to provide benefit to the women and stop the female infanticide because of the misinformation has created other problem for women. So yeah, that's the whole thing that you have to understand from this video. I hope you have liked the video. If you have any doubt, please comment. Thank you.